Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of
The cool,
Damn.
down.
Cool Down.
Cool
So
down.
I just want to start off by saying we had 100 episodes. We didn't have a full house. Ole gets sacked, and all of a sudden everyone's back in the studio. So that's amazing. Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you for being in the house. As you can see, to my left-hand side, we've got Selo Lolo Color, a very, very happy United fan out to see him. We've got Nick, King of the North, a sort of confused Newcastle fan. We've got at the bottom, we've got Moses, a man who's been absent so long that now he's come back. We don't even recognize him because it seems like, I don't know, has life been tough for you there, Mosa, with the facial hair? It looks like he's come out of prison. And then we've got Matt. He's finally got his goal on t-shirt there. Also super happy because why? Conte has 3 points for Spurs. And then, of course, the disillusioned Wonga Denga brought back down to earth.
Oh,
Welcome back to Earth,
Gonna be so quiet this week. Gonna be so quiet.
no. I won't.
How's everyone doing?
Good.
Good. Just can't complain, man.
Good to be back.
I think it's good that we're all here actually, because remember we said Ole was gonna dance on our graves. So now that he's gone, we did need to do a proof of life, make sure there were no graves for him to dance on. So I'm glad we all managed to make an appearance. Good to see you're all still breathing, guys.
He's gone. He's gone. Finally.
He couldn't hold on for 2 games. Goodness me. Just 2 more weeks. Just 2 more weeks we needed him there.
And he was probably gonna beat you. That's the funny part.
Yeah, he had to bounce
No-
back. He's
no
got
worries.
that bounce back ability.
Yeah, it's
I mean, gents, look at this.
crazy.
Look at this. Even Jason's saying, finally, full house. We've got Sam saying, packed house indeed, unlike the Etihad. Nice one. I like that. We've got Alvin saying, boys. And then we've got, Pum's back in the house. So already, just because it's a full house, we've got our regulars locked and loaded, ready to go. But I think Ole's a good topic to kick off with. I don't know, Selo, I don't know if you want to kick off or anyone else. Wonga, you've started it because we know we're going to end off. Look. Wonga's already saying Ole's a thing of the past. Mosa, you tell us. What did you think of this whole fiasco? You can tell us.
Fiasco, it's about goddamn time that he's gone. I think he was never ready for that role. The past window kind of let him down. He managed to make all the big signings that he was looking for. And that sometimes, as we've seen with Chelsea and Lampard, gives a manager a whole host of pressure to deal with from the fans. I think, his tenure was a little bit exciting. You did see Man United try to play more expansively with their approach coming off the slump of Jose Mourinho and other managers. But, it was about time. It was an eventuality that he had to go. The club management, I think, potentially have some explaining to do regarding the timing. Yes, I know they got walloped by Watford, but they could have taken the same action maybe a month or 2 ago regarding Ole's future and giving the replacement an opportunity, because the difficulty now is that the replacement won't have that international window and is going to lose a lot of African players, and he's going to contend with other teams kind of gelling already. So he's just going to come straight into the thick of things, where if this decision was done a month ago, at least there'd be some kind of preparation which the new manager could put in place. And the new managers are coming out of the market. Like Conte is one manager, for example. He was
you
there.
say new managers. I mean, I don't think any of the names being linked on you, Mosa. So that's an interesting sort of
the new
statement.
United manager, the potentially
Okay, there
new
we go, there
United
we go,
manager.
there we
Yes, they kind of like they kind of vacating the market, right? Like if this was done maybe a month ago, Conte would have been in hot contention, but because they didn't strike, there'd be there's now managers like Conte leaving the scene. So it's going to be interesting to see who does fill the position. But yeah, I think it was in time. It was just about time that Ole was gone.
Yeah, and here's a good question, Selo, or let's actually ask Matt, because Matt's paying attention. Yeah, because he's looking so good in the shirt. We're going to throw this question his way. Jason's saying, would you guys agree that Ole at least steadied the ship after the quick changing of the previous managers? At least.
I've read some stuff about
Yes.
this, and I think there's an argument to be made that he was actually a really ideal interim manager, and the mistake they made was keeping him on permanently, because he did do a really
100%.
good job of kind of improving that the dressing room morale and kind of getting the team back to basics. But he's not been long term, we've seen there've been some challenges, and I think
100%.
in that regard, we mustn't dismiss everything Ole has done. I think it's easy now to look back and say he wasn't right for the job, but for a long time he was actually really doing some impressive stuff there at United. So he definitely steadied the ship. It was time to move on, probably already at the end of last season. If United was a more ruthless, if they had a more ruthless boardroom, I think they would have done that. Or if he was a less popular figure, I think that's also been part of the challenge all along. Is that Ole is a well-loved figure even now. You know, even after this reign, there's still loads and loads of Man United fans who really like the dude and don't. There's quite a lot of United fans who would have happily kept him stuck around. So, you know, there's always going to be that element. But yeah, he did a better job than he maybe gets credit for. But it was time to go. That's true.
And then one more question there. Sorry, Selo. I just want to ask Matthew one last thing here from a Poch perspective. If he does fill in that hot seat, what are your thoughts there? Because that's a question that Arjun's asking.
Yeah, look, obviously every Spurs fan loves Poch. What he did for us was incredible. And I wished him well when he went to PSG. I think he's a fantastic manager. He deserves success. Part of me is kind of worried about the United job for him because it is chaotic. I think there's a lot of stuff behind the scenes at United that we don't know about that I think affect managers there. You see it time and again where things don't seem to run smoothly. That said, there's an incredibly talented squad there. And a manager as good as Poch would probably be able to get some results out of that team. So it could be a good fit. It would be sad to see him succeed in somewhere else, but I think, you know, you've got to look forward. You've got to kind of keep moving on. And Spurs look like we're in a relatively good position now. So if he goes there and he's happy and successful, we'll wish him well.
Yeah, Selo, you can jump in now. You can jump in, yeah.
Yeah.
Man. I think with hey man, as Musa was saying, long overdue. I think the previous international break that we just came from now was the perfect opportunity for us to change the manager, because at least would have given the new manager a 2-week time frame to at least work with the players before obviously coming back to play the Watford game. But yeah, I think it's quite, you know, poetic, the fact that Donny van der Beek has scored Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's last goal. You know what I mean?
How's that?
And
comes on, gets some game time, scores, and the light goes home. Thanks for coming.
And he had a great game. He had a great game.
Yes.
You know, he set up a nice chance for Ronaldo, which Foster saved. You know, he played very well. You know, he had a very good game. Sancho was playing on the right wing, surprisingly, and who crossed the ball to Ronaldo that Ronaldo hit to Donny? Sancho did. You know what I mean? Playing on the right wing, you know, players in the right positions, and let's see what they can do. Because now you'll be critical of players, but they're playing out of position, or they're not even getting the game time required. So let's see what happens.
Sancho played well as well.
Exactly, he played very well. You know, so I think Man United, you know, there's a lot of mess in the board level and so on and so forth. You know, I think you know, if we're being honest, the person that's failed the most at Man United is Ed Woodward. He's the person who's come in and he's appointed all these managers that haven't.
And now he's staying longer. The man staying longer.
Now he wants to stay longer to make sure that he finds a person to appoint. I think definitely he should have left at the end of the previous season, and we should have gotten someone different, a different direction. The Glazers need to stop, you know, focusing or leaning on him and saying that he should be the person to guide them and so on. You know, he's a good commercial man. Commercial side of things, he's done so well for Man United. You know, I can't take that away from him. You know, but I just felt that there should have been someone just to focus on the football side of things, and he focuses on what he's good at, which is the commercial side of things. But yeah, him maybe staying longer isn't great. I think it's concerning. But let's see what Man United does. We'll probably appoint Stevie Bruce interim manager till next week, and then have another interim manager until the winter break. And then Phil Neville will come back or something.
So
you know what I mean? You know?
I thought that was quite amusing. I actually want to jump in and just chat about the potential new appointment, but I thought it was quite amusing because, you know, I got a lot of grief from, maybe not so much you guys, but a lot of Newcastle fans get grief about giving, you know, stick to Steve Bruce. But wouldn't it be just beautiful if he had to go? He's a messiah there, you know. Why don't you just take him? Because he's such a good manager and so lovable. But just actually, What's hilarious is it's just how the hypocrisy that goes around in football, saying Newcastle fans are being spoilt, and why should they not give Steve Bruce a chance when he's got the worst record in Premier League history? Why don't you take him there, Man United fans? If he's a legend, why not? If he's
but
he's been given
there.
Yeah, he's been given.
But in fairness, United just did the appoint a club legend thing, and it didn't. Then they had 3 years of this. So I think they need to go the other way now. If they're going to appoint a club legend, I'm pretty sure there are better candidates than Steve Bruce.
Is not a club legend, first and foremost.
Yeah. But hang on.
He won the first Premier League.
He's managed 1,000 games. He's won the Premier League. Like, what do you mean?
He's not a club legend.
He's going to be a legend.
He won the first Premier League title.
No, man. Pallister's more of a legend than him, man. So
more of a legend. What does that mean?
What does that mean? No one's saying more.
Legend or not? Like you're either a legend or you're not a legend. There's not some grade like where you're just a dude, then you're like a nice guy, then
So what was quite interesting?
You're gonna be a little bit of a legend or you're a lot of a legend. You're a legend.
Yeah, legend is legend. It's like
he's not a legend.
You are or you aren't.
He's not a Man United legend.
You'll upset a lot of Man United fans if you had to say that in Manchester. But
particularly
moving on swiftly, I don't know if you guys are familiar with the Talk Radio Talk Sport. I'm sure most of you have seen. Yeah,
I hate that.
So I
listened
listened to it. I listened to it all day, and they had spoken to a journalist from France. I can't recall his name, but he's very close with Poch. Jim White and Simon Jordan spoke to him, and from what I understand, and from what I understood from the interview, is Poch is ready to go. If the compensation can be organized, like he's ready to go, but there's so many moving parts here because PSG have the upper hand here. They need to have a replacement lined up, and Zidane would potentially be that person. But there's moving parts with his situation because he might be waiting for the France job. Because there is talk that. Like he doesn't want to go into a big contract with PSG and then he doesn't get the opportunity to coach his national team. So it's quite interesting. But from what I understand from that interview is that they reckon that Poch will leave immediately because he is not happy in France at the moment, and he will be there before the end of the year. So that could be very, very, very interesting. But from a Man United point of view, spending so much money paying Ole's new contract that they just gave to him out, and then they'll probably have to spend £10 million on Poch to get him out of his contract.
Nick,
and what's interesting, he hasn't even won a trophy. That is the funniest thing.
That's the truth.
Matt knows all about that one. Matt knows that.
Didn't he win with PSG?
He did win.
He won with PSG. The league with PSG.
Won a cup.
Was it a cup? A week after arriving at PSG.
That was like come on.
Guys, come on. Asterisk.
You won a cup. Counts.
It's like Beatles winning the Champions League with Al-Ahly.
Who's Nick behind out asterisks here? Can we be honest? Out of this panel, how can Nick be the one handing out asterisks? I just want to ask that question.
But Nick, I don't understand why you have to talk about money, Nick.
I'm just saying it's quite funny when you're going for a manager that hasn't won anything. I'm saying you're going for a manager that hasn't won anything.
Nick, if you've got the money,
and that's
what I'm saying is you're going for a manager. Yeah, spend the money, but spend the money on a coach that's won something.
He's won 2 trophies with PSG.
That begs a serious question as well.
Wait. In a Farmers League, there's 2 teams there. What are you talking about, bro?
Nick is saying, Poch
Steve Bruce
is not right for United, but Steve Bruce is right.
I love the vision. The vision, boy.
Unfortunately, it just shows you like how. Listen, I love Poch. I think Poch is good. I think he'll be a good manager for them. But it's not going to be. Listen, it's not going to happen overnight. If Man United want instant successes, which clearly they do, they've been wasting their time for the last 6 years.
Guys, there's no guarantee. Guys, there's no guarantee.
Yeah, there's no guarantee except if you go get Thomas Tuchel and you go win it that season. So there is a guarantee.
Yeah.
It's if you go and spend the money that you want to spend and go get the coach that's going to sort it out. With that squad, Celo. You can go coach up better than Ole, bro. Come on, man.
I think Conte
Conte
would
would
Conte
be
would
the
have
best
been
choice. Yeah.
Conte would have been
choice.
the best choice.
Yeah,
Matt,
so
obviously,
why
he's
didn't they
step
get
in
him?
gonna
here.
start with
You
him.
can smile here. You're welcome
They've
to
lost
smile
him.
while they talk
Yeah,
about
but
this.
Matt doesn't
Because
have the
Daniel
quality.
Also,
Levy
this
is
is
ruthless. That's the difference.
twiddling
Daniel
their
Levy's
fingers.
ruthless.
Yeah.
Doesn't have the quality of squad that Man United has, guys. But yeah,
He
but I
doesn't
think
need the quality of squad.
on the Poch thing, obviously, I think Poch wants to leave PSG because Leonardo signs the players. He doesn't consult with him to say, hey, listen, which player do you want to get and which player don't you want to get? They just sign players that they think they want to get, and which leaves
Let's deal with it.
Poch without the power. You know what I mean? And then then you have to deal with so many egos at the club, where if you wanted you actually want a coach to be in control of the signings that they're making. But obviously Leonardo's signing, and Leonardo is best friends with Mino Raiola. So for instance, like Donnarumma, for instance, was signed because of the relationship that Leonardo has with Mino Raiola. And I think they signed another Mino Raiola player. I just can't remember if it's I think okay, Verratti is a Mino Raiola player, and then Hakimi is also, I think, a Mino Raiola player. So obviously just that in itself, man, the relationship that he has with those agents, I think obviously
I
it's
also
sticking its
heard
ugly head.
that journalist said that he hasn't even bought a house in France yet. He's still staying in a hotel 11 months later. He's still based
Correct. I
in a
think
hotel.
Yes.
I think his
That's
family.
crazy.
I think some
His family
most
are
of his
still in
family
the UK.
is in London. Yeah, it's in London.
Yeah.
I think his son is I think his son was at Spurs' development, so I don't know where his son is now, but they're still in the UK. Similarly to Benitez, when he's obviously left Merseyside, he left, but he still lived in Merseyside. His family was still there, you know. So I think obviously,
Quick question, Silo. If Poch were to come to United, do you think he'd achieve some level of success in the season that he arrives or the following season afterwards? Given that his current context is that he's getting frustrated by potentially the club making signings and him not being totally in control. Do you think he'd have that opportunity at United, and will it actually yield any positive results?
hey man, I think with Man United, it's not even about the coach's capability. Sometimes I think it's just the board and what does the board allow you to do. You know what I mean? I think certain managers have been so frustrated in terms of not being backed. Mourinho came second, and then the following season we signed one player. You know what I mean? We signed one player for Mourinho, where Mourinho wanted, other reinforcements into the squad. And Mourinho won the Europa League, but we still didn't back him. So that was probably frustrating for Mourinho. Van Gaal won the FA Cup, then got fired the next day. So I think Man United in itself as a club doesn't foster an environment for these coaches to be successful. I think Fergie was successful under the Glazers because Fergie was in the job and had always been successful. You know what I mean? So I think he just knew how to do it. And then
it's no different to Wenger, technically speaking, at Arsenal. I don't know if you got to compare the two. It's like the American owners let the men do their thing because they did it for so long. No one really questioned them. Now it's this new sort of age of football that all these other moving parts need to take place, and you actually need someone to work in assistance with them who actually know a thing or two about football. And I think that's where they're getting caught a little bit from United perspective. Matt, final point that you want to add to this before we move on.
Well, I think my last observation is kind of the difference in terms of how Spurs and how United handled the change of manager. And it's kind of, Spurs got rid of Nuno. It was very ruthless. It was very kind of, to a certain extent, kind of unexpected, despite the fact that results have been so bad. The fact that they made the quick decision was sort of unexpected. But they very quickly, it was sort of a day later, Conte was in the seat. United are in this government department reshuffle situation where they've appointed a caretaker to hold the seat until they appoint an interim manager who will hold them until the end of the season, and they'll have a permanent manager. It's like, this is Manchester United we're talking about here. And they need to have this kind of 3-step plan to appointing a manager, which to me points to like a lack of planning. It means that up until this weekend, they didn't have the replacement lined up.
No plan.
And that's
surely
commentary.
That's a dereliction of duty, right? At that level.
Yeah,
for a club like United.
Even their commentary, right? When all of us were expecting it 2 months ago, a month ago, before the international window, they kept coming out every morning to tell us, no, they're still sticking behind the manager, still sticking behind the manager. They've lost a lot of good opportunities in my belief, to actually have this plan in place, because they're always sticking to the manager. This feels more like a knee-jerk reaction from losing against Watford than it does feel like a planned kind of change in management.
But that's been Man United, if you think about it. Like I think even Paul Merson mentioned, he said it was the reason probably Solskjaer struggled, but I don't think it really is. I mean, Maguire and them, I mean, the whole team was playing bad. I can't really blame the Ronaldo signing for it. But he says Solskjaer gets finishes second in the league, and then like Musa saying, knee-jerk reaction. These guys see that City's going to sign Ronaldo. They sign Ronaldo, you know. But then Paul Morrison says that, look, that kind of messed up Ole's plan. But I think it's more than that. But I mean, yeah, that's been Man United. And then if Selo will even agree with me, is that before these guys weren't signing any players, you know, when Bruno was there. And then Solskjaer was there the first season. They never signed anyone. And then what do? They sign. They spent huge money. Good players, but they've only really signed the guys because, you know, they. I mean, there's a lot of pressure that they were getting from the fans. You know, they could have signed other players in the other transfer windows, but they've actually then again gone and said, look, we haven't finished well. Let's sign the players and just, you know, show them that we are doing something. And then here's Solskjaer also getting the brunt of that. At the end of it again. I just think that's been Man United for the past 3, I still don't know how long, but yeah, they've been just reacting.
Yeah, Celo's talked about this before, where you have like 3 seasons of nothing, then a couple of really big marquee signings, and people are like, oh, you see, they do invest.
Yeah.
But it's never part of a plan. It's just like, it's you know, it's like when you neglect your kid all year and then you're like, oh, let me quickly go buy him a couple of ice creams just to, you know,
Christmas present.
Like you're just the ice cream man, you know, like
it's a cycle. It's a cycle. This thing, you know what I mean? You know, the last big signings we did was when we did Mkhitaryan, we did Pogba, and then we did
I remember that
Zlatan, and then Eric Bailly. We did 4 of them at the same time. And then boom, quiet. And then we did a Diego Dallo after we came second. And then we did obviously now we did what's this with this Varane, Sancho and thing, you know. So it's a cycle, but that's Man United for you. But yeah, I think we've spoken enough about Man United. I think we should jump on.
We'll move on just quick.
And also,
moving on to better
things.
Man United
we're talking about it.
Real quality.
Game just started as well, so
okay.
Well.
So quick one.
I'll just
from
be
Selo, you can
you.
tune out. You can tune out. I just want a quick fire.
I hear Van der Beek is starting.
Yeah, and Martial has started as well. So yeah, so let's see.
Really interesting.
Toto has started today. Yeah, they just fouled him.
So Carrick is really throwing Ole under the bus, eh?
Yeah. I swear, I was telling this guy in the change rooms that Van der Beek should play every day.
That's true. That is true, though. He's gonna show it. Hey, man. Yeah, that's fair. It's him being stubborn.
To start.
Hey, he's with the squad, guys. He's with the squad, guys. I think he's on the
and he's mates with Carrick from when they played together, so he'll probably say,
Yeah.
"Come on, Mike,
Give me a target. You've seen Harry. You've seen Maguire.
You've seen Harry. It can't get much worse."
Almost a goal from Scotty McTominay. It was a great cross from Alex Telles from a set piece, and Scotty McTominay just hit it into the side netting.
Okay,
so
all right,
close.
okay.
It's time for more play.
If people want commentary, they can watch the game. Selo. They don't have to come on to Goal Out for real commentary. Right?
Yeah.
Okay, so quick one. No, taking control. Handbrake.
Claudio, everyone wants to hear the sexy voice. Come on.
Just make sure there's no tears. There's no tears at the end of all of this.
I think the voice is sexier when the tears flow, boss. So let's hope the tears
emotion.
Anyway, okay, gentlemen. So just quickly. Did he steady the ship? Yes or no? And then number 2, do you think Carrick will be a decent interim manager? Those are 2 questions. Okay,
he's not an interim manager. He's a caretaker. Whilst they wait to appoint the interim.
The interim.
He must be measured in for what he is.
So just
Steve Bruce.
Yes or no?
Steve Bruce is lined up for the interim role.
It's going to go Carrick, Steve Bruce, Poch. And then Bruce.
So Nick... and so the merry-go-round goes.
it's very,
And then it's going to take over at PSG, presumably.
it's very interesting the way he's set up, guys. It's very interesting. He's using Ronaldo as the left winger and Martial as a central striker. So that's quite interesting, and I'm interested to see how it goes.
That's how they did it at Juventus.
Can I just say Portugal? Yeah, they did it at Juventus. It didn't work. They tried doing it with Portugal now.
Yeah.
Just the other day, it didn't work with playing Ronaldo on the left. So all I'm saying is I've seen it not work so well. That's all I'm saying.
At Juventus, I saw him cut in and smack right corner. So in some games it does work. That I won't lie.
No, some games, but I'm saying over the course
Close
of the
him
season,
down, you bloody fucker!
The tears are coming.
Who is it? The players are all in now. They're coming. Danjuma is going to score.
Let me mute my mic. Sorry, guys. It's
all right. No one answered the question. No one really cares. I think everyone's done with the Man United thing. Let's move along. We're going to say Leicester City, Chelsea. It's about time we get a Chelsea input here. Moss has been MIA for a long time.
We
and also, we don't
talk
talk much
about
about Chelsea.
Well, I was going to say we didn't get to talk about Brendan Rodgers because this was a pretty good advert for replacing Ole.
Well, there we go. You cancelled. You can dive into that one. I think
But he dropped it quick. He dropped that thing quick, didn't he? They asked him and he dropped that speculation quickly.
Yeah, he said that, but then look what he did at Chelsea. That is exactly how Ole would have played it. So
he's been taking notes.
Yeah, he's sitting there on the sidelines. You guys have my number.
you see me giving away 3 points.
But I saw this coming.
Oh man.
Yeah,
man. And like before the game, I you know what? Actually, recently of late, I've been full of confidence about how Chelsea have set themselves up and come to every match. They do come with a heightened sense of intensity, a professional approach. We've got a few injuries in players like Lukaku, but we still kind of, the manager has these boys all figured out, right? The defense is looking solid. Goalkeepers always bring out his best in the game. The midfield is just dominating every kind of game they step into with the high intensity. The movement up front is looking great. There were a few frustrating parts in the game where the lads they were on top of the game, but they weren't playing with the width that he'd wanted. And that showed his frustrations as a manager of where he is, right? He's trying to get these guys to play a very precision type of football. And at this point, they're all executing on that. They're all kind of coming to the party and showing their value and showing their class. On the day, Leicester really weren't there. They were chasing shadows. Yeah, the whole day they were chasing shadows, and yeah, I think it shows just how good Chelsea is at this point in time. I think even with the injuries, the manager's got a system which is working for all the players, and they know exactly when and how to slot into that system. And yeah, it's players love playing for managers of this nature when they know their performance is going to be appraised objectively. That's why whenever the manager does make a change for a player here and there, the players still execute, and then he can then make a better decision for who comes in the next game or who gets left out. So it's perfect at the moment at Chelsea.
Aren't you concerned that your best defender's contract is coming up?
Rudiger, yeah, I am a little bit concerned. He's the player that's really shined over the past half of last season and this season so far. He's really come to the party and been instrumental in the character that he's given a lot of the defenders and the people around him. I am concerned, and I'm actually concerned about why the negotiating is taking so long. You know, it's like this is a club which has forked out quite a bit of money for players like Rudiger, like Kai Havertz, like Timo Werner. Like, there's quite a few players which have actually come in for really big paychecks, and to not be able to pay a player who's shown his quality at the club and is continuing to improve.
Contract with us.
You say you're a big team, champ.
But I wonder
one call to the land.
Because didn't Chelsea also, haven't they started to build around Silva in defence? And on that, have they not been? Is it maybe a case of them expecting him to step up and kind of do that role, so they don't want to end up overpaying for another defender Not that Chelsea necessarily need to watch the purse strings, but
Yeah, and my thing is the most expensive defender that I can recall at Chelsea is Ben Chilwell. The rest are relatively cheap to free. If you look at Thiago Silva himself, you look at Rudiger, you look at Reece James, you look at Chalobah, Aspilicueta, and Alonso. Chilwell's actually the most expensive, and in that setting, I would have expected. When we spoke about Thiago Silva coming last season, beginning of last season on a free, I was expecting it to be his last season or like the last kick of a dying horse, But it's really reflective of the professional he is and the quality at which he's played at. To see him actually continue to pull out these type of performances. Chelsea's defense is bar none one of the best defenses in the English Premier League at the moment, and in all of Europe at the moment. Yeah.
He wants to play at the World Cup, so I think they even said that he might stay for another season with you guys. Thiago. But Rudiger wants to be one of the top 3 highest paid players in the club. That's what I heard. The rumor is obviously.
But this is,
Lukaku's the highest paid player. He wants to be top 3 highest paid.
Yeah. And if I'm looking at it objectively, just from a pure negotiation perspective, I'm looking at it going, this guy doesn't really give 2 shits whether or not he stays at Chelsea. He knows he's got the club by the ball saying, you know what, I'm going to ask for this much. If you're not going to give me this much, I'm going to go to another club that's going to pay it. And that way, at least by the club standard for the fans, I'm making it look like I want to stay. And if they don't give me what I want, then it's because the club don't want me to be there. And I think that's the angle he's taking from that side. But more from the footballing perspective, I mean, Lukaku, gentlemen, they're scoring without a strike at the moment. Musa said they didn't really need Lukaku. What's the overall feeling from that angle?
It's Leicester City, guys. They're not in the best of form.
But what happened what happened against Burnley what happened against Burnley before the international break? They drew 1-1 at home. They struggled to break down a pub team. They struggled to break down a pub team. And now a team that's like Leicester, a bit more expansive, a bit more leaving spaces at the back. They exploited those spaces because there's the things. Leicester's there to play, but a pub team like Burnley frustrated them at home and they drew 1-1. You know what I mean? So I think that needs to be taken into account. And then also other games that they played previously, they played against Juventus in Turin and they couldn't score a goal against Juventus in Turin. So I think we need to take those things into account.
But I mean, a lot of teams with their starting 11 won't score against Juventus. This is a solid side we're talking about. But I do hear what you're saying. I do hear what you're saying. Yeah, I do hear what you're saying. There are games where you're going to need an out-and-out striker who just knows how to get the job done, create space, make a chance out of nothing. And they are going to miss that. I think they're going to miss Lukaku. The longer he's away, there will be games like that where they need someone who's just going to battering ram their way through and score a goal. And that's what he'll bring. And that's why sooner or later, when that injury goes away, Moss is going to be dying that thing that he's been so proudly growing.
I told you, gentlemen. I told you. My thing with Lukaku, and it still stands, right? Like, yes, you'll be able to bully a few of his opponents. But a player of that magnitude, a signing of that magnitude, you need some kind of BMT. And for me, he doesn't have it. And sometimes in those smaller games, he doesn't actually rise above everybody else. So that's where I'm still on the fence about Lukaku, right? About his contribution, his potential contribution.
But if you'd had him against Burnley, you would have thrown him on, right?
Yeah, to kind of bully. Yeah, definitely to bully.
Well, that ends that conversation then. Moving along swiftly. I mean, here's an interesting one. Sam's saying, just a small stat, Peter Cech holds the highest number of clean sheets in the Premier League, 202. If I remember correctly, Mendy could beat that. Who agrees with that?
What does he mean? Like, could beat it soon or like could beat it? Like, because I mean, theoretically, Wonga could beat it, like there's nothing stopping him.
I have beaten it. No one scored against me.
Yeah. It's a good thing you're not playing for Arsenal then, Wonga.
Can't get a game past Ramsdale these days. But yeah, I think Mendy is. I don't think Mendy gets talked about enough, and I don't know what it is. Yeah? But you talk about 100%. The top keepers in the game at the moment. Mendy doesn't get a mention very often. But on current form, he's got to be top 3 in the world.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah, at the moment, most definitely.
Easy.
And even
since he's come to Chelsea,
yeah,
since he's come to Chelsea,
he's not going to be there through AFCON. He's gone. Right?
AFCON. Yeah, Senegal
Senegal
are playing in AFCON, yeah.
But Chelsea are fortunate that they've got a good defense. Hey, yeah,
What's your
hey,
AFCON
I'm just.
list?
Excuse me, I couldn't hear you,
I
Joe.
know the team's gonna get hit hard by this one, but
We
it's
know
just
that.
a matter of them admitting
We're
it.
only
That's all.
we're only losing 2 players, right, to AFCON.
Yeah, but then you got
That's-
Kepa there in goal.
Ziyech
but
and
Ziyech-
Mendy.
No, but
Kepa can lose his
no,
head.
but Ziyech is fighting with the Moroccan manager, so he hasn't picked for the last qualifiers, so he might
Eh.
not be picked.
Okay,
Yeah.
then that's even better.
I don't know.
Let's talk
Mendy's a
about-
big loss, mate.
Yeah,
Very big,
But I think
especially
Chelsea's
with that other
defense.
guy that doesn't have arms. Lad, that can't take a fucking shot.
Oh, right, Emma, we're talking about pub clubs. We were talking about pub clubs. Let's talk about a pub club who have they've still got all the furniture
Let's-
inside
guys,
and they're
guys,
trying
now
to
that-
redecorate.
You need to
outside.
remember now that Bruce isn't there, Newcastle
new
can no
curtains.
longer drink like a pub club, so I don't think we're allowed to call them that anymore.
Well, they're
Gentlemen,
drinking martinis. They're drinking
Yeah,
martinis. What are they
exactly.
drinking? Okay.
No pies,
Yeah.
no pies, nothing, guys.
No bacon
Alright.
sandwiches, you know.
That's all
funny
they're
you say that.
throwing at the
Funny
pub.
you say that. You know, a lot of the journalists or the sort of media pundits who are mates with Steve Bruce, who protected him throughout the whole thing, sort of said, you know, those players weren't playing for him. And if you followed the sort of Eddie Howe story since he's been there, he put them through their paces doing sort of a protocol of testing to figure out where they were in terms of their fitness, and they built through the international break a level of fitness and obviously a training regime for the game against Brentford.
Yeah.
One of the things he did ban is quite a few things similar to what Conte did at Spurs from the canteen. I know one of them were biscuits by the tea and coffee counter. So it's just those small things.
Guys, biscuits, guys. Why is the biscuits? I heard also Gerrard said there's no salt or ketchup or
Yeah,
something, guys.
something
Why,
no
like that,
why
puddings.
do they have these
No
things,
puddings.
guys?
But
yeah,
you see,
but
the
that's
thing is,
exactly. Why do they
but
have
also,
them in the
guys,
first
guys,
place? Like,
no, but
we're the
guys,
sports
remember
scientists.
these clubs are not only catering to their playing staff. There are dudes in the back room who deserve a biscuit. You know, guys.
Yeah.
whose job
No,
it is-
even they're working for an elite club. Yeah, they're working for.
Like if you're not on the
sports
playing staff,
club.
you know, if you're the dude who sits by the sidelines tweeting the live events, like give the man a pudding.
Give the man a banana.
Guys, did we
And
just
a
wait? Did
pie.
we say something wrong there?
Give the
Claudia
man a
just
banana
ducked.
and water.
I don't know what happened to
Water
you,
and a
man.
banana.
Everybody's
But-
got a trigger word. Maybe his is biscuit. I don't know.
Yeah.
You went to get himself a
That seems to
biscuit.
be the trend, though. Because I also read Gerrard's also gone in and banned fizzy drinks and stuff at Villa.
Yeah.
Salt,
Yeah.
salt.
Hmm.
No salt and ketchup, apparently, man.
But I think
But it's
I'm
also
not going to catch up myself, so I wouldn't miss that. But no salt. What do you put on your chips?
Right? He won the
You're
league
not
with
eating
Rangers.
chips. You're not eating chips. You're not eating chips in the first
Hey,
place.
that's the special spice that won Rangers the league. Is that salt? He took out that. They've been having salt for so many years. Celtic taking the league. He took the salt out, and Rangers got it. So maybe.
Yeah.
But
Maybe
listen,
it'll help
listen,
Aston
boys.
Villa.
Like I must say, so we obviously had a very unfortunate situation with Eddie Howe. Well, he had an unfortunate situation having a COVID test on the Friday and then testing positive. So it was a little bit of an anti-climax. But in terms of guys, I'm actually delighted. We sit in bottom of the log, but I can't explain to you what sort of performance we put in. If you never watched the game, like I can tell you, we were on the front foot. We took the game to Brentford, and obviously our flaws were there to be seen, which is maybe a good thing. But I can't remember when last we scored 2 goals, let alone 3. And we probably should have won it in the end with the chance with Joelinton where he slips and St. Maximum had
23 shots, Nick. That's
But
mad.
yeah, like can you
9 on
imagine? Like,
target.
Probably
First
equals their
time-
total from the rest of the season.
listen, if you look at this is the first time I think in 37 Premier League games where we've had more possession than the opposition. So like
Yeah.
you know that
the
just
whole
shows
season.
you he's been there for 10 days or now it's been a bit longer, and he's changed the whole philosophy. And you know, a lot of the pundits are saying, yeah, it's not what we need something more pragmatic. But you know what, I think if we can go out and take games to teams, will put us in a position hopefully before the window where we can potentially go and buy a few more players to add to that. And you know, those types of performances, getting our best players to play well, to play in their positions. Can you imagine? Like that would be a great
Yeah.
starting point, you know. it really showed on the weekend. I think there's a few players there that I would really sort of look at to ship out eventually. But I mean, guys, I've spoken about J7, Jolinton, the absolute donkey. You guys, if you want to see like a
J7.
completely transformed player, watch that game. Like, he was all over the place, pressing,
Well taken goal.
dribbling
Well taken
people,
goal.
well taken goal. And I was like, is this a man possessed? Like,
But
honestly,
is that maybe, again, just further indictment of Steve Bruce's style?
100%?
And I think this is a thing. Like, I know when they first appointed Eddie Howe, and there were some people saying, oh, that's not very ambitious. Newcastle should be looking for a proven winner, someone who's going to win the league. But the truth is, they're not in a fight for the league right now. They're in a fight for survival. And in Eddie Howe, you've got someone who's been there. He's been at the bottom of the table. Obviously, Bournemouth got relegated, but he knows how it goes down there. And he's also like got proven kind of caliber in the Premier League. And he's actually I'm not an expert on these things. You'll know more than me, Nick. But from what I've read, he's quite innovative. He's quite forward thinking in how he plays the game, and in how he trains them, how he sets things up. So you talk about the fitness tests and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I'm sure that's not something that was running under Bruce.
Yeah.
And I think just and the fact that it's had such early impact in terms of their style of play is obviously really, really promising. There is still a lot of work to do for Newcastle.
Yeah.
They are still in very real risk of being relegated. We're quite close to Christmas now, and they're still bottom. So that's a big issue. I think he needs to get a few wins in the next couple of games. The Brentford test was a big one because Brentford have scored. I mean, obviously you guys conceded 3 goals, but Brentford have scored goals against a lot of sides this season. They're a good team.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be there will be easier games than this for Newcastle to really show what they can do. But the fact that, like you said, dominating possession, loads of shots, scoring goals, it's got to be all positive.
And what was quite interesting is you're playing against a Brentford team that likes to dominate possession themselves. So that was obviously a good thing. And then like Wonga said, I mean, we had 23 shots at goals. Brother. I mean, at the goal. So I don't I mean, I can't believe that. And I think just the sort of, it was a breath of fresh air. There's a few players there that are sort of need to be shipped out. I was very disappointed with Darlow. Like, I'm a big fan of his, but it just looks like I think he can feel that Dubravka is coming back, and he can maybe feel the pressure. And I think I would make that change straight away, and I would put Federico Fernandez in for Lascelles straight away, quick straight swap, and go again. Against an Arsenal team who looked pretty decent in the first half, but very vulnerable at the back. And I think if we can just have a go again, you got nothing to lose away at the Emirates. Like, you got nothing to lose.
I mean, I know this is normally what gets discussed on a Thursday, but I think this is a really interesting game for both sides, the Newcastle-Arsenal game, because historically, we know that when Arsenal lose, over the last 3 years, Arteta's had a wobble, and they tend to lose more than one in a row. And that confidence, they've always had that soft underbelly. Newcastle are flying on the other side. On the other hand, they're coming in, they'll be feeling positive. So that will be a really interesting game. It'll be a real test of how much Newcastle still have to do by January. And it'll also be a big test of just how far Arteta's really come. How much of a change has he implemented? Because if they go out and they stumble against Newcastle now, I think it's almost like, one step forward, 2 steps back for Arsenal. So, I mean, I know that will get unpacked in more detail on Thursday, but that's going to be a huge game.
And I think just to close off, it's going to be very important because we've got a very hard run of fixtures, but we've got Arsenal next, we've got Norwich after that, and then Burnley after that. So if we can pick up, if we could pick up 7 points in those 3 games, that will be great. I think that will put us in a good position.
7 points, Nick. Isn't that a little bit too ambitious?
I think 5 there. 5 there would be good. Norwich.
Why shouldn't we be beating Norwich and Burnley? Like,
look what Dean Smith did with Norwich. Dean Smith walked in and won his first game at Norwich.
Currently above you.
Yeah, listen, Eddie Howe nearly won his first game. If we had won that game, they wouldn't be saying that Newcastle's awful. If we're going to survive, we have to beat Norwich. We have to beat Burnley. Like, that's the reality.
That's true.
If we're not beating them,
Yeah,
look at like that. You're right.
Why are we going to? So
like Pum says, let's relegate that team. Right, let's talk about a team.
Claudio, can you just tell us, are you okay, bro?
Are you okay?
Yeah, we're good. Let's talk about a team. I'm more than okay. Look there. Wonga's put his head down because he knows what's coming. Look there. Okay,
You've left your seat 4 times, Claudio.
You had cookies. Code word cookies.
Cookies.
I think it was biscuits specifically that we used.
Oh yeah, biscuits.
But on that note, gents, look here, Arsenal, talk about still have a long way to go. You talk about the soft underbelly, all these things. Wonga's been on a recent high, the undefeated run that they've been on. They've come to Anfield. He was somewhat, a little bit, I don't know, optimistic. He was definitely optimistic. Whether what percentage that was,
I would say cocky.
forgotten.
I would say cocky. I think let's
Okay,
call it what
there
it
we
is. Let's not sugarcoat it.
Optimism. That's what it was.
No.
I mean, look at the run you're on. Look,
Optimism is
I
taking an umbrella with you. You know, like it won't rain today. I don't need my umbrella. That's optimism. What you were doing was coming on here, waving your face in front of all of us, hovering this high off your chair. You know, it's all about we're coming for you. We're coming for you. And then you came for us, and here we are.
you know,
December's coming.
and I said it. You know, I said it even on last when I said last week Thursday. And I had a fear that Arteta was going to do this. Is that he's going to go to Liverpool and he's going to try something funny. When I say something funny, he's going to come and do something different to the other games that he has been winning. I think I mean they've been undefeated for a long time now. Only drawn 2 in that long run, and they started against Liverpool. I think the people will say the first half we were. They said the first half we were good, but they were. I mean, I was sitting here with another Liverpool fan, a friend of mine, Wayne, and I told him, look, I mean, what they're doing, that goodness me is flipping risky. Ramsdale, he didn't get it wrong in the game, but it's what Liverpool want. They want you playing at the back. Oh, lovely. We don't have to pass the ball. We're gonna just tackle you.
Who made that pass?
It was Tavares, and then there was one that Lukonga did as well. Lukonga had many passes that he did wrong. Yeah, and listen, Nick, he was going forward. Tavares is someone that always usually goes forward. He was going forward and then he passed the ball back. That for me tells me, and I think even Arteta will take, and it's fine. And like he said, it's at the end, like we'll learn from this game. Hopefully they do. He told his team literally is that they want to build from the back. You can, I think Claudio, you should agree with me on this. They try to build from the back, suck Liverpool in, and then they were going to try and play behind. But what confused me about this, even that playing behind part, is that when Liverpool were pressing us at the back and they wanted to try and play the ball behind, there was no one even making that run behind. Aubameyang was still in our half, so I was very confused in the game plan. It looked like okay, we pass, and then we don't know what to do, you know. And I think it was a very never mind just changing a game plan in the last. I mean, in a game against Liverpool, but I mean the what he wanted to do. Oh goodness me! I think Klopp was smiling when he saw the first 10 minutes what they were trying to do. It was inevitable. I sat and I said, "We're going to get punished." That was definitely going to happen.
Hang on, Wonga. First and foremost, I just want to say welcome M Dog Guru, who said Ollie definitely threw that game, and I think there's some conspiracy there. You know, I like my conspiracies, but I think he wanted the sack, so threw that game. But going back to the Arsenal sort of thing, I know you're critiquing him for doing what he did, but let's be honest, the first 20 minutes. They weren't too bad. I don't want to say they were controlled, but Liverpool had, I think it was 70% possession, but we weren't really creating chances that were blatant chances. They looked, and I said this. I still said this.
I hear you.
I still said this. I said, hang on. I said, like, if you look at Man United, a team that's not coached, you look at Arsenal, you can see the manager's clearly got something he wants the players to be following. Whether or not they executed as something else. And obviously he goes on to the side of the pitch and Arteta gets the crowd going. And that's what he actually does. Because the crowd, they were quiet for 20 minutes. Then he started to wanted to take on Klopp. And then all of a sudden everyone
trying to fight Klopp. That's not even guys. Arteta is the model gentleman. That's not even him, guys. Like him fighting like that, I just couldn't understand, guys. That shows
just trying to get the players going.
But I think
they were both. They were both. I think they were both Arteta and I can't say it was Arteta only. They were both shooting each other. If there was no one between them, there would have been.
No.
That was rock and roll, man.
But hang on, gents. Listen, you said they were both there. Of course, they were both there.
Come on.
No. Listen, there was a catalyst. Arteta was. You know what the thing was? He sparked.
He sparked it off.
Of course he did. He was the one that went at Klopp. And then Klopp was like, well, okay, my team's... If you got to be really strategic about what the manager does there, he can see the crowd's quiet. Let's give them something to cheer about. He gets stuck in. We go from Atletico Madrid where they're trying to get Mane sent off. He felt clearly Arteta was trying to do the same thing. And then he sparks it up. And all of a sudden, the crowd gets behind him. My thing is, from an Arsenal perspective, I'm like, I don't mind seeing my manager doing that. Because finally, if Ole had to do that as an example, I'd be chuffed because there would be some interest. He's already moved on. But you know what I'm saying? Like Arsenal, as an Arsenal fan, I'm going, here's a guy who actually gives a shit about my team. Whether or not it worked in this scenario is something else. But in the end of the day, what it was a team that has their style waxed versus a team that is still learning. A lot of young players where the confidence isn't there to the same level. And you could see the players were somewhat intimidated.
And
I
to
think,
add to that,
yeah,
like,
you see, the thing...
if you are conceding 70% possession in the first 20 minutes to a Liverpool team who punish everybody they come across when they do have more possession, it's very scary. Already it's going to be a very difficult thing.
Look, for me, I want, like... Sorry, you go, Matt, you're speaking.
I think to Wonga's point, I think from when you looked at Arsenal at the start of this game, the difference was, and I think to a certain extent, it may have been them kind of feeling somewhat intimidated by the situation, because people were talking about this being, for the first time, really, this was the first time where, in quite a while, where Arsenal going in against Liverpool, and people were saying Arsenal had a realistic chance at this game.
Yeah.
For a long time, they've come in as underdogs. And it was almost like some of their dynamism was gone. You look at how they've been playing in games before this. They were very much on the front foot. They were stretching defenses. They were creating chances. And this game, as much as they weren't terrible in the first 20, 25 minutes, they also weren't as good as they had been. They weren't playing with that same speed. They weren't being as incisive. Yes. And then when it turned over, it was sort of that 20-minute period just before and after half time where Liverpool scored their first 2 goals. And after that, the tide turned and Arsenal were completely kind of shell-shocked, very much in themselves. And I think I'm not an Arsenal fan, as you know, but if I was an Arsenal fan, that's what would disappoint me a bit, was that they came into this game on such a run of really good form where they were playing that on the front foot, stretch defenses, create chances. The clever runs from Lukonga weren't there, all of that stuff. And I think that's where there is that frustration, where this was a game where, not that they maybe should beat Liverpool. Liverpool are a good side, but they could have maybe put up more of a fight, been more of themselves before they ended up conceding goals.
I think, you see, Matt, that's the, like, I think you said it properly at the end, is that for me, even when we actually gave Liverpool the game, the first goal, sharp, I think that was their work. Ramsdale could have done better, but he also made good saves in the beginning as well. So you can't, he saves things that he shouldn't have saved. I think it was 3-4 shots, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, at the form he's in, he would have said, you should have saved that. But then again, it's this thing of Arsenal were not doing, and again, Liverpool, sharp, they beat us. It's a team. Everyone. It's not. I don't think we're going against anything.
We didn't beat you. We
listen.
You. There was no beating. I didn't.
Listen.
Get it right.
It wasn't kind. It was a whipping.
So, but for me, I will. If I were to say anything or not, you don't want to pass blame. But I think Arteta would, put his hand up and say, look, he tried to. I think what he tried to do was the wrong thing. These guys were playing. Whoa! Listen, Claudio. Whoa, listen.
This is where I'm curious about this. Okay, I'm curious about this. So everyone here, and Nick, the coach up there, I'd also like to get your opinion just from the coaching perspective. You know your team. I know you talk about past games, but the opposition's not at Liverpool. You're playing other opposition, so you can be on the front foot. You can gain that confidence. Now you telling me you guys are somewhat disappointed, or Wonga, you're somewhat disappointed because the manager decided to go, let me try to do something, because if I go toe to toe with this team, this Liverpool team now, likelihood of winning is probably going to be very low, right?
How does he know that?
Come on, man. If you're going to go how many teams go toe to toe with Liverpool?
Hey, listen, Arsenal have been playing well. That's why I say Arsenal playing. What they've been doing has been working. It's been giving them wins. People thought we were going to lose those games. People thought we were going to lose those games, and now we have it. For me,
winning games against
we have
all.
But okay, look at this, Nick. If we lose the game, now we lose the game. We would have. For me, I would have preferred it that you tried to play toe to toe with them, and then You lose it that way because now he's tried something else now. And
Wonga, the goals.
He's just got pumped 4-0 by doing something that I could have told. I told you on Thursday, Claudio, that if they do this, they're going to get pumped. I literally said it. If we try and sit back and try to do play another game, play another way that we've been playing before, I literally said we're going to get smacked by Liverpool.
That's the only thing he could have done. That's what I'm saying. The reason we scored the goals we scored is because individual mistakes.
Okay, so
that was done by an inexperienced team. That's what it is.
But that's what I'm trying to tell you. Why are we trying to play a game that requires a lot of experience? You're telling me inexperienced players. So you've got inexperienced players, and then you go play. You go try. Wait, Carl. I haven't even finished my point. You haven't even let me finish. Look, listen. We tried to play.
Calm.
You've got
loss. You got experience.
Listen,
even the
whole. But no, listen.
This is a family show.
But listen, guys, the whole season
we'll see Arsenal lose, champ. It's like.
But listen, guys, for like 9-10 games, you've been playing something that's been working. You've been playing something that's been working. And for me, I would have said try go do it against Liverpool. I think for me, Arsenal fans would have been happier that way. Now we go try and play this, and I mean Tavares and them. We know them. They're not. I've seen them the whole season. They've been playing forward, running forward. Then they go and they try to play backwards. Those are the things I just don't understand. There were many, even what's his name, Lukonga as well. He looked, especially after Tavares made the first mistake, Lukonga looked very edgy. And it's not he gave away one pass, but there were many other passes. I think there were 3 or 4, including the one that led to the goal that Lukonga was not comfortable with. It's a game they weren't comfortable playing.
I think it highlights to me how far behind the top 4 Arsenal are. Similar to us in Leicester. Look, Leicester tried to play the game, but we were just head and shoulders above them in terms of quality on the ball and intensity on the field. And that was a sharp reminder to them and to ourselves about like where we each are in our journeys. We are looking to get into European football and win that, and you guys are probably looking to just get into top 8.
But Musa, tell me this now. Like, even with against the other teams, Arsenal has been creating a lot of chances, scoring, right? This one, it's against Liverpool. It's limited them. It's a game that now we've tried to be a bit like, let's say, pragmatic, you can say, and the opportunities are not there. For me, why not go for the win against Liverpool? Go for the win. The points will put you in a good place instead of trying to play like the thing I always say is like the guys try and play chess. Oh, now you're trying to go. Like we've just won. We've run a good run of form. Why don't you try to put it up against them and then we lose that way? I would have been happier losing that way than the way we lost this weekend. It is one game. I'm not saying now that Arsenal are terrible. It is a learning curve, and I just hope that we learn from that. Liverpool were the better team. They've got the better players. They were better quality. I can't deny it.
You
but
feel
I think
as if
we should have
Arsenal
gone.
respected Liverpool too much on the day for them to change it.
Yes, I saw it the moment we started. In 10 minutes, they were doing funny passes. That's what Liverpool feeds off. We've never done this the other 9 games. That's what I'm trying to understand. Why do it now against Liverpool? Why? That's the only thing I'm trying to understand. Why do it now against Liverpool?
Don't worry, Wonga. I'll come and get another 3 points from you on Saturday.
You play like a kid against Liverpool.
Just so I can see you angry, man. Just so I can see you.
I tell you what, guys.
He's been having too much fun over the
None of
past
us
couple
have
of
the
weeks.
emotional range that Wonga's brought to the show this year. Think about the depths of
None of them
depression
do.
that he has showcased. The highs, the euphoria, and now the passion and the anger. It's like a Spanish soap opera.
Telenovela.
We can only hope to bring such acting prowess to our team support.
Yes, I agree with Sam. Sam, I agree with you there. That's the wrong opponent to try to do what he did there. 100%.
So,
Let's
talk about football that doesn't make us sad.
Let's go to the other side of North London.
Yes. This was
Makes
an
me
exciting
sad.
game. The first half, Spurs. Oh, the depth of Wonga's depression. I can't match it. Even when I was down, you never. And I think we can all remember that. Whenever you feel like you're down, remember you're not Spurs winning a game sad like Wonga. You're never that sad. You've always got something to smile about. But yeah, the first half Spurs played exactly how everything they've done wrong for the last 8 odd games or whatever. There was no incision, very kind of stodgy on the ball. flustered at the back, and Leeds took a well-deserved lead before half-time. The team talk at halftime was obviously pretty solid, and the team came out. The second half was much better from Spurs. They were better controlled. The runs were more creative. They were really stretching the defense, and it kind of felt from sort of the 5th, 6th minute of the second half, it felt like we were going to win. It just, you sometimes get that feel. You just know this looks like a game we're going to pull this off. And when we did, obviously the winner, Reguilon's kind of tapping off the free kick. It was you're half lucky with that, but he ran in at just the right time. It's his first league goal for Spurs, and I think it was huge in that it was obviously Conte's first league win. It was the first time we've come from behind in a while. The team really pulled together. There was a clear kind of decision collectively. We're going to play this aggressively. We're not going to try to sit behind the ball. We're not going to try to defend our way to the end of the game. And the second half was fantastic. It was really cool to see. Obviously, Kane still struggles to score a goal in the league, and that's going to continue. Although he was the player that finally had a shot on target, our first shot on target for nearly 3 hours of football. So it was a big day. And I think a lot of positives to take from it. I think Conte will be under no illusions as to how far there is still to go. But if we play like we did in the second half of that game much more, and I know this is only Leeds. Leeds are having a really bad season by their standards. And there's still kind of some work to be done. I think we're not quite as fluid as we've been. Even Son looks a little bit off it. He's normally the one who's making those runs, who's at least doing something. Sam's completely right. Something is still lacking in Spurs attack. We're still not. Yeah, I think part of it's Kane. I think it's too easy just to blame him alone. I think we are at times. The movement's not great. We're kind of, historically you watch Spurs, and when we're playing well, there's always like players making those extra runs, and it drags players out of defense. It's what I always used to think of Ali doing. Ali was always that player who'd just do a run that you wouldn't think of, and it would create this bit of space, and someone would just do a little dinky ball through, and suddenly we've got players in behind. And we're not quite doing that anymore. And it's not just down to Kane. He's a big factor. He's definitely not himself. He's definitely not pulling his weight. But I don't think it's just him. I think the whole attack seems to not quite have found that killer instinct again. But if we can find that, and if we can keep playing like we did in the second half of this game, I think there'll be good things coming our way. So
I love that celebration at the end from Conte. But Matt, surely you can give us your impersonation of what that team talk went like
at halftime.
I can't do the accent. But
come on,
I reckon...
come on.
Couple of swear words. And at least you've got the hair for it. You know what I mean?
I don't know. I mean, my hair's all right, but it's not Conte-esque.
Yeah, because he had implants.
He's got implants.
He had.
Do you reckon he just did that? Did he not even say anything? He just stood there, running his hand through his hair for 15 minutes. But that's all he did. Just stood there at the door like that.
How do you feel?
Just
how do you
with
feel
eye
about
contact, each player.
The fact that the fans were booing the team off.
Yeah, I thought that was harsh. I don't like this
harsh.
New habit. I thought, it's 45 minutes of football.
Maybe it's not harsh enough. That's why United sat with Ole for so long. That's all I'm saying. Look at Daniel Levy, just getting them going. You've got a top manager now. If the players aren't performing, it's on the players. That's what it is.
Yeah,
I mean, 100%.
Look, I think to a certain extent, a lot of Spurs felt that way about the first half. I think it wasn't good enough. It was really frustrating. It was kind of like you're doing the exact same mistakes that you've been doing time and time again. I still don't think you need to boo players at halftime. I think they knew that wasn't good enough. I think they were going to get a bollocking from Conte no matter what. But I still, it worked. I guess I don't know if we should maybe start booing every halftime just to kind of mix it up and see if that's how we start to get a performance out of the players. But I think the players themselves, some of them are starting to kind of really show who they are. I think Højbjerg in particular is one of those players who's just really stamping his authority. We're starting to see the good player that he could be. I saw Sam asked who was the best player against Leeds. It's hard to tell because it was quite a good team performance. Mora had a good game. I thought Højbjerg was immense again. He's back to his best. He's all over the field. He's imposing. He gets in the way. He breaks up play really, really well. He's really good at just breaking down the other team's attack. Obviously,
he's definitely going to be a very important player for Conte team.
Yeah, Conte likes that kind of player, that player who's in a bit of involved in everything, midfielder who gets everywhere and does a bit of it all. And he scored the goal. It wasn't a striker's goal. The finish was, it looked like he didn't quite hit it right, but it went in, and that's all that matters. I thought he had a really good game. Reguilon had a really good game too. I think he was really bombing down the left. I do like us with 3 at the back. I think it gives Reguilon a lot more freedom to be attacking.
He's good going forward.
He's really good. His crosses are awesome. Obviously, we're not seeing the benefit of it now because Kane's not getting on the end of them. But I think we had a couple of players there with a shout
we all know what Alonso did under Conte at Chelsea. So let's see what he can do.
Yeah, exactly. So I think there's a lot of signs, a lot of reasons to be optimistic, Wonga.
Optimistic.
Optimistic, perhaps not cocky, but optimistic about Spurs' future. Yeah. I reckon it was a very pleasing performance, but I think the challenge now is that and where Spurs' big challenge has been sort of since towards the end of Poch's era is consistency. We are incredibly inconsistent in the way we play. So if we can keep that level of intensity and that the professionalism that we had in the second half over an extended period of time, then I think that will bode well. And Conte's the kind of manager who will, he accepts nothing less than that. He talked about it a lot during his time at Chelsea, particularly at his time at Juventus. Kind of, this is what I expect. This is what I want from my players, and all of that. So I think that will be a big factor. And players like Højbjerg, players like Reguilon are going to play a huge role. I was really happy to see Winks get a run out. I don't think he was a little bit off the pace at times, but it was good to see him out because he's a popular local lad, and he is a really good player. There was a time where he was playing for England regularly, and his midfield passing, his range of passing in the midfield was probably one of the best that England have had in ages. He's obviously gone off the boil a little bit. Is that on the comment on Winks, or is the United game? I mean, I don't know.
Like one Bissaka was trying to dribble someone. Like, no need to dribble. Sorry, just.
Carrick's told him he can go dribble now.
No need to dribble, and he can't cross, dude. That guy also has to figure out how to cross.
But defensively, he's pretty solid.
He's very good defensively.
But
yeah, fair enough.
Anyway,
you should go play for Newcastle. I'm just saying, keep clean sheets at the back. That's all I'm saying.
But so I think overall very positive for Spurs. Important to build that consistency. I think that's where we've been lacking, because we've had good performances under. We had a couple of really good performances under Nuno. We've had good performances under Mourinho. We had a couple of really good performances under Ryan Mason when he was managing. So, but the consistency is where we've always lacked. So if you can instill some consistency, I'll be happy.
If I can just step in here with regards to Conte taking over at this moment in time for Spurs club and seeing his reaction after the weekend, which, by the way, Nick has obviously already said he's enjoyed it. If I'm looking at what Klopp did when he took over Liverpool, we know the club was in an iffy state. We know the fans were booing, leaving. They weren't really on side with the team and the management. And it was kind of stuck. Klopp was stuck with these players. And you could, if you want to, liken it to a similar situation that Conte has inherited here. The only question being from a Conte perspective, and if you're a Spurs fan, is how long will this tenure be? Because we know he doesn't go the distance. So that's the one thing that I think there should be a question
in Spurs' recent history, Poch is the exception. We normally don't have managers doing very long. Prior to Poch, we had Yol, who did about 3 years. Redknapp had a little bit of time, but Spurs managers historically don't last long. I wouldn't say we don't have the revolving door quite as hectically as Watford, for example. But we've never had managers do massively long tenures. Yeah, we've never. People have never. I don't even. From what I understand, they don't necessarily even write the names on the door anymore. It's just manager, current manager. They. I think I wouldn't be too worried about that. I'm not. I think what Conte will give us is, if he brings in a certain amount of stability, if he creates an identity and sort of gets the players firing again, I don't think anyone will mind if he ends up leaving 2 seasons down. If he wins us something or doesn't win us something, I think it's. Yeah, look, some silverware would be great. FA Cup or something like that would be amazing. But
you guys win anything.
Yeah, anything would be
any
great.
cup,
League Cup. The Audi Cup. I'm not that far.
Audi Cup. Audi Cup.
Yeah, the Daniel Levy inaugural. Just
invitational.
I
There's
think
some
I don't think
silverware.
many Spurs fans are worried about, but he's going to leave after 2 years. That's not really something we concern ourselves with. If he does, you never know, because I mean, he stayed at Juventus for a very long time. If he finds a project he really believes in and enjoys what he's doing, he might stick around. But I don't think we're necessarily that kind of club.
Right, gents, and on that note, thank you, Matt. We just want to say, before we move on to the final thoughts, can everyone, and it's going to be a nice little quick fire, we're going to start with Selo, go Nick, Wonga, Matt, and then Musa. And what we're going to say is we're going to give our cool moment of the weekend. Which moment was that for you, Selo?
Cool moment for me on the weekend was, I think, Wonga being humbled.
Hey!
Ooh, that's ice cold moment of the weekend.
That's ice cold. That's very ice cold.
Mine
Nick?
is,
Yeah,
cool
yeah.
moment of the weekend. I don't know if anyone did manage to see any highlights of the Newcastle game, but the flag display in the Gallagher Inn was incredible. Eddie Howe's black and white army. This is our city. This is Newcastle. It was quite special. If you see it live and hear the music in the background, it is quite a sight to be seen.
Did you cry a bit?
No, I just get goosebumps every time. So
It's
yeah,
funny. It's funny how Nick always goes for the black and white moments, doesn't he? Anyway, Wonga.
Oh yeah, Louis
Look,
saying Rodri's goal. Yeah, that was actually a great goal.
Yeah, that was a good goal. Well, for me, it's
Selo, you see what you did? We had momentum, and you threw this man off his bus.
Sorry.
Oh, and so because you coming from under the bus, now you want to let him just ride the bus for a bit there. Let's go there, Wonga.
No, for me, it's Arsenal finishing again in the top 5.
Oh wow.
Considering
bit of a
where you
reach,
guys
Wonga.
started from.
That's
No,
how's that a moment?
How's the reach? How's the
No,
reach?
the moment
It's
of
in
the
top 5.
weekend. It's not the
Uh,
final
Because
thought.
it's sort of-
That's
Sort of like the
my
cool
Man, you
moment
have
of
to
the
remember
weekend
these
is when you
guys are
look
used
back at
to
the end and you're like,
middle of
thank
the
God
lot.
that's over.
That's yeah. Just said to Musa. Hey, he's right. That's good for me.
Matt, what do you
It's
got there?
relative.
My cool moment of the weekend is Reguilon's goal. He's such a player. He really gives everything for the team. I follow a lot of Spurs' social feeds, obviously, and he's always just such an optimistic character. Not cocky, Wonga, but optimistic. He's just really cheerful, really buzzes for the team, really gives his all. And he just seems to also just really love playing football. Like he seems like, if we got to play it, like you'd just be like overawed, like I'm playing football for a living. He seems like that kind of dude. And I always, whenever I think of him, I remember, do you remember last season against Arsenal when Lamela scored that Rabona and it was out of nowhere in a game we eventually lost anyway. And Reguilon was the player standing behind him, just holding his head like, ah. And I think so when he scored that goal and it was just a perfect moment. I'm really glad it was him. So that was my cool moment of the weekend.
Shout out. I think, I agree with Vads and Louis. Like having Stevie G come back with the result has been epic to see. I think he's got a beautiful career ahead of him in the Premier League. But Rodri's goal, wow, what a rocket. That was a proper hit of the ball. He struck that like top-notch quality, and he showed on the day that, these guys are just really from another planet. So it was good to see Rodri's goal, and that's my cool.
Did you see that
moment
pass?
of
I
the
think,
weekend.
was it for Sterling?
Which
That
pass?
pass.
From Cancelo.
Cancelo's pass.
Whoa.
I think
Outside
that
footer.
goal's probably
Yeah.
better for me than the Rocket. The Rocket's good, but I mean that pass was delicious.
Yeah.
That's deliciousness.
That's delicious.
Right, gents. I don't know does everyone want me to say my moment? Does everyone want me to say it? Okay. Well,
Go on.
it was-
Nah, not really.
It's got to be Minamino coming off the bench and his first touch being a goal. You can't
that's
take that. Yeah. So that
that's
was a cool moment.
That's cool.
Yeah. Right, gents. Now brings us time to the final thoughts of the show. Settle, let's hear it.
I thought that was my final thought.
Okay, Settle's watching Champions League.
But
You can move
no,
on.
but no, it's half time now, so it's still 0-0 in that game. I think let's see what happens with Man United. It's a new dawn, but we need to definitely sort out boardroom level stuff. I don't know how we're gonna figure that out, because that would mean the Glazers need to leave, and that will take some time. But yeah, let's see what happens. Big game against Mosa this weekend, and Wonga to come as well. So yeah, some exciting stuff. I actually want to look forward to watching Man United again. I didn't care about the match this past weekend. I was not watching the game.
You didn't care.
I didn't
Lucky
care.
you,
remember. So yeah, so I haven't been caring for a bit, but that's more because manager shouldn't have been there. But he's gone now. Let me start caring again.
Tough times will still continue.
Did you also think it was weird that they had that sort of interview with him, and then he started crying and why did they do that to the manager?
Why did they do that, bro?
Yeah,
He requested it apparently.
Yeah, but
so
come
stupid,
on,
bro. Just let him go, bro.
Doing it just to be a legend or what?
Just let him
Roy
issue a
Hodgson do it
statement.
also after he lost to Iceland, and then they fired him. And then they made him
But there was all that
just
talk
like-
about it. Remember, there was all that talk where they said they're going to do it in a respectful way.
Yeah.
Like,
They did it in a way so it could be a little bit more of a legend than Steve Bruce. That's
yeah,
how
I
good
don't
it is.
know. It's sort of more legendary. 7 more
listen,
legend points.
My final thoughts: Newcastle United are back. We still haven't won a Premier League game this season, but hopefully that might come this weekend.
But you're going for 7 points, boy, in the next 3. You're
Oh man, that's funny.
We're coming.
Oh man. You know, Man United talk about a new dawn, but imagine saying we're back when you're still bottom of the league and you haven't won a game.
It's easy to see
Back,
7
baby.
points coming.
It's coming, guys.
Love it.
Trust me.
For me, I was thinking about it quite a bit. Is after I watched the Man United game, it's another team. But the things I saw from Maguire, I know the guys are saying Ole make wrong decision, whatever, he must go. But for a captain, my man, I was just, I was shocked, and it happens week in, week out, and especially the goals I think was it the first goal they conceded or the second one. It was funny when you watched the replay and looked where he was and where he should have been. I couldn't believe what I was seeing. But but it also makes you think. It also makes you see how much pressure these managers have. Never mind it being just Man United, but you've got to. If your defenders are doing that, how can you win? But also, why are you playing him every game? Also, but that's another thing.
And giving him the armband.
That's my thoughts. And giving him the armband. Yeah, that's his fault. Yeah.
Did you even see after the game, after getting the red card, he was spotted out in the night, actually going out.
Potting, yeah.
That's so crazy.
Yeah.
Did you imagine you're the captain of the club?
No, but these are still also dudes who do a job. When you finish work, if you have a crap day at work, you still go out and have dinner with your family. You're not going to be like, look, I dropped the ball at work today, so I'm just going to sit at home with a face like a smack bum.
No, it's not.
I think it's a bit different to soccer.
I'm not.
Yeah,
I'm not gonna.
it's
football.
Yeah, you see, look what Aman said.
What's Aman saying?
One more time.
That's fine.
That one. You're going to tell your own
Does his
father,
father
sorry,
be
we
there?
cannot celebrate your birthday.
Hey, come to the house. Come to the
You'd be
house.
like,
Come to the house.
Sorry, Dad. What if it's his last? It's his dad's
that's
last
different.
birthday or something, and then you didn't go because you weren't good at work? No.
If the father watched the game, the father would have went to the house to go console his boy, as opposed to fucking saying, "Let's go dog, son."
As a father, I'd say it's my birthday. We are doing it behind closed doors so no one can see you
Yeah.
because we know.
It's not the right time.
That's
I've got sons, and I would tell them. I'm not going to change my
Hopefully-
birthday plans
just hope
because
your sons
you
don't
turned your
defend
brain
like
off for
Maguire.
90 minutes. No,
Just hope they don't defend like Maguire.
no.
Just make sure they defend better than
Okay,
Maguire.
look. To a lot of us, Maguire's the Man United captain, but in his family, he's one of the family. The whole family can't change all their plans because one dude had a bad day at work. What if
They
he's
must.
got a brother who drives a forklift and drove a forklift into a tanker and blew it up and killed 6 people? They're not going to cancel dinner for that.
They must go celebrate that dinner at Maguire's house after the forklift incident. Maguire's house. Maguire's done worse, in my opinion, actually. for Klopp to be easy.
That would be
Yeah,
my
bro.
final thought. My final thought is that we must let footballers on the field will judge them for their football. What they do off the field, if it's not breaking the law, really, guys, let's leave
Yeah,
the man alone.
okay.
Like he had
Nah,
dinner
man,
with his
nah.
father for his birthday.
Let him live his
Like,
life.
Yeah,
No,
you know?
Okay.
That's like
If I was
that's
a footballer, I
insightful.
would
That's
do
like
exactly the same, and I would
Nah,
expect the same. Can you
Ollie
imagine
just
if you
phoned
were,
him.
if you were
remember-
out
Phoned him
remember the
afterwards and he
days-
was like, "Bro, you're the reason I got
No.
sacked." Now you're going out
Imagine
there
you're
Yeah,
out with your
celebrating.
tough
buddies,
now.
and then your boss comes and taps you on the shoulder, like, "Do you think you should be here celebrating
Exactly.
after what you did at
As-
work?"
And Matt, and you
And
were the
so
guy who
Alex would
didn't
go
file the
to the
report,
guy's
and because
house.
you didn't file the report, your boss got fired, and now you're
Yes.
celebrating drinking.
Yes, and then I'd send him a text, and I'd be like, "Look what I'm doing!"
You mentioned
Yeah.
things like that, and it reminds me of players like Balotelli, who literally didn't care what was happening on the field and was living his own life, whether he's
All
on
the
the wrong
Brazilians
side of
look
Milan.
at All the
Or whatever.
look at
His career
Ronaldinho.
turned out.
All
Yeah.
those guys. No, but look at all those Brazilian players would always leave the season to go to Carnival as well. Romario did it. Ronaldinho did it. You know, we don't think any
Yeah.
less of them.
They were winning.
Hey,
though.
but
Hey, but they're putting balls in the back of the net.
It's allowed. If you're winning, you can do whatever.
Hey, they were scoring. They were scoring and then like going off time. Like,
Ronaldo used to go afterwards. You know, he used to go.
Literally
Yeah,
celebrate.
exactly.
Yeah, he used to go at the nightclubs, man.
Yeah.
Um,
And you
But
also
yeah,
got
man,
arrested, by the way. Just putting that out there. Yes, Mosa, final thoughts. Let's go. Let's go.
Final thoughts from my side. It's great watching Chelsea at this point in time. The confidence is
For
up.
Chelsea fans
do have-
only. Because it's not
And
fun
for-
for like a neutral fan. Who enjoys watching
No,
Chelsea?
Klotz, it's fun
honestly?
for
Who
neutrals
enjoys
as
it?
well, man. The
No.
style
Don't
of
speak
play,
for
the
neutrals.
quality in possession.
Don't put your words in a neutral's
Okay.
mouth.
Speak for
Yeah,
yourselves,
I-
guys. Speak for yourselves.
I
Louder,
would
Sam's
agree
on
with
the
Mus on
line.
that one.
Sam,
Louder,
I would
Louder,
agree with Mus
Sam,
on that
tell
one.
us.
I would agree
Read
with Mus
it
on that
louder.
one.
There's so many good things to see.
Shameful one.
It's
Yeah,
lovely.
their defense, that thing, it's you can only admire it. The way they defend as a unit, and it's
Where
more
the
than
rest
just
of the
defending.
neutrals?
The neutrals are
That's
tapped
what
out
I
because we
admire
said
about
final
Chelsea.
thoughts.
Wonga has to admire Chelsea because he has nothing to admire there at Arsenal.
Yeah, he's not a
Yeah, yeah.
neutral. He's
Yeah.
not a neutral. He's like a
We-
jealous
yeah.
lover.
And also,
We've
can I
been
just
there,
say-
Nick. We've been there where you are, and we're now here at the top. Come on,
Top
guys.
five, boys. Top
Oh,
five.
that's a good point.
Yeah.
It wasn't long ago Arsenal were bottom. Imagine if Newcastle did that, guys. Can you
They
imagine?
could.
Then,
They could. Nick, it's possible. Trust me.
then we're gonna
I
get to
know.
discover
It's
Nick's
possible,
emotional
man.
range, the way we've seen Wonga's. It could be beautiful.
But I haven't seen Nick sad to be at the bottom. He's kind of like in a celebratory
He's
mood.
No, he
used to
says
it.
we're-
saying, nah.
He's used to it.
Yeah, we're back.
Yeah, we have
Literally at
Rudy
the
here on a
back.
pre-contract. We'll probably sign one or two Liverpool players, a couple of tired Arsenal
He's
players.
celebrating his father's birthday on the
Video
ground at
day,
home.
when is available.
Oh, man.
Also, I mean, it's quite a tough ask asking the neutrals to weigh in, yeah, Mosa, because you did start speaking about Chelsea. So the likelihood is they've logged off by now. But to finish your final thought.
Oh wow. Okay, well, for us fans of Chelsea, I think it's beautiful to watch us play. We're on the highest. It's quite comforting to know that we come into a game confident and we're going to bring some really good intensity and performances.
Confident, not cocky. Wonga.
So, yeah,
Yes,
confidence.
Confident.
Confidence. So that's my final
How-
thoughts, man. We're playing really well. Playing really good football.
All right, gentlemen. And that pretty much wraps up the show. For everyone who joined us, thank you very much. If you have not liked, subscribed, or told a friend, a brother, uncle, sister, or stepbrother,
Join
or
our Discord
even
channel.
a long-time friend that you've never spoken to in the past
Or an
20 years, this
enemy.
is probably enemy. This is a
Yeah.
good time to tell them there's something
Yeah,
like
this could
Goallounge
make-
that you
this
can
could-
get on
Yeah,
board.
true.
This could heal the wounds.
True.
You could make a friend of a past enemy. Go back and be like, look, I know we've never seen eye to eye in the past, but come look at Wonga's emotional range, the depth, the emotion, the tears, and it will heal that friendship.
Healed. Do that. Can you do that on Goallounge? Yes. And also a reminder, Matt, can you show everyone your beautiful, beautiful shirt that you're wearing there? Let's see it.
There we
Yes.
go. Look at that. Look at that. Look at that. Look at that.
What does it say? What does it say? Can everyone tell us what it says? What does it say? Everyone?
Family club, boys. Family club.
Family club.
Welcome to the family club.
Family
Right.
club.
Yeah. Like the mafia
Still
or one of those weird cults. Once you're in, you're in.
Easy, easy. This isn't
Right,
a cult.
Right, if you don't know what it be,
Yeah,
Be cool.
Newcastle. No, be Newcastle.